Welcome back to the Better Everyday podcast, where we are unlocking our best self one episode at a time. My name is David Garcia, and this is my beautiful wife, Grace Garcia. Today, we're going to do things a little bit differently. Usually she is my co-host, and we have conversations together, but today we're going to treat her just a little bit different. She's actually going to be treated as a guest today because today we are talking about her TikTok journey and career. This episode is going to be geared more towards the entrepreneurs, the dreamers, the ones that want to achieve great things that seem kind of out of grasp. They're not sure, you guys aren't sure if you can get there. What does it take to get there? And so this episode is kind of going towards that. Grace has been in TikTok since May of last year, I believe. And in 1 year, she's been able to grab 46,300 followers, 1.8 million likes. And I guess my first question to you is, did you think that you would be where you are right now last year?
No, I would have desired it. But if you told me, like if you'd have asked me back then, like how certain are you? I'd be like, oh, no, there's no way.
Mm-hmm.
But something that I desired, yeah, of course.
What made you get into TikTok?
I've always wanted to be in the social media scene.
Mm-hmm.
I started on YouTube. I would do vlogs there, like my little planner. Erin Condren was a huge thing, and I did like my stickers and vlogs. And even when we got engaged, then I was kind of showing my journey with that. It was not super consistent. So that was, what year did we get married? Like 2017, 2016.
2016. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think even like 2 years before that. So it was a while that I was, a long time ago that I did YouTube, about 10 years ago. And then I remember when I was pregnant with my son, then I kind of started focusing on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a little bit of momentum. I remember some brands would reach out to collaborate or like to do videos for $20, and I would be so excited. And then, yeah, I kind of like dropped the ball again. Then I tried doing TikTok again. I mean, not TikTok, YouTube. And so it was kind of like off and on YouTube because I give people props. It is hard.
Yeah.
And TikTok kind of blew up during COVID. I didn't even get a TikTok during COVID. So I feel like I was very late to the TikTok game.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until last year that I uploaded it on my phone. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to just start doing videos on here. But in the social media, I've always had a thing for like the social media thing, like wanted to be on there sharing my life.
And why did you always want to be in social media?
I don't know. I think first, I remember when I first started seeing YouTube videos. I think I was in middle school, and I don't know, Melody's always watching, so I'm going to say I don't know if she's watching. Hi, Melody. She's my sister. But I remember she found on I was like a small, I don't even think you could call it laptop. And she was like, Grace, I just saw a video. And she was cracking up. I didn't post it or nothing. I was just like making videos and not posting them. And it was cringe because obviously it was for no one to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed watching people make videos. And I thought it was so cool seeing them sharing their everyday life. And I was like, if I think that this is so cool, I feel like people would think my life is so cool. And then there's so many times where I'd get into my head, like no one would watch my videos, or what do I have to share that people already are not watching? And I'd kind of get into my head about that. But I just loved like kind of consuming the content that I thought I'm like, it would be fun to also be producing it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
And so you tried YouTube, do you remember how many followers you got? How many, I guess, yeah, it's followers, right?
No.
Subscribers.
I want to say it was about 300.
Okay. And then again, what made you stop YouTube?
I think life just got in the way. I remember leading up to our wedding, and then after when I got married, just kind of just dropped. It is so time consuming, especially longer videos. like editing them, or sometimes I'd like record and then I wouldn't be able to post them until weeks later. And I was like, this is no longer relevant, you know? Like people want to see kind of the day of or maybe the day before, but not like a month later.
So you're saying that you kind of got discouraged at the fact that you didn't have the time to be efficient?
I think so.
Okay.
Because it was very hard for me. And then I'd just be like, all right, I'd have like so much footage. And I'm like, all right,
And then
just done.
later on when you went into Instagram, what happened there? What made you stop at that point?
I don't remember. I think it's similar. Life got in the way. Elijah was a very colicky baby. So pregnancy was fun. It's just me and you. Very easy to post and be regular about it
Mm-hmm.
and interact, reach out to brands. I was always trying to apply for for other brands who needed ambassadors and their small businesses. So it was very easy to do all of that. And then Elijah was a very colicky baby. And I'd like post pictures of him here and there, but slowly again, life got in the way. I went back to work when he was 4 months, and then just kind of, it was back burner type situation. I forgot about it slowly.
Okay. So YouTube, Instagram sound like similar stories. You said that life got in the way. So now here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Is your life easier or less busy right now than it was back then?
No.
So what changed?
My perspective changed. Or I think how bad I wanted to finally see it get off the floor. I think it was always like this, it would be fun. It would be fun if my YouTube kind of got off the floor. It'd be fun if my Instagram grew. But if there's no real direction, no real effort into making it get off the floor, just kind of waiting for chance and not doing my part, then it's not going anywhere. And this time I was like kind of annoyed at myself and like, okay, I'm done. Like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I remember kind of being a little afraid to tell you because you're someone where if you noticed a pattern in the past, you're going to bring it up. Like you're not afraid to tell me what you're thinking. And you're like, Grace, you asked me the same thing. What is going to make this time different? You did YouTube, you did Instagram. Like, are you just wasting your time? And so I already knew, like, okay, if I'm telling him, he's not going to believe me if I say, like, no, this time's different. Like, you're going to want to see the hardcore evidence, like my actions.
Right.
Well, let me ask you, what did you think when the first time I remember, I was like, hey, I think I'm going to do.
I think it's exactly what you just said. I remember you telling me, and I said, homegirl, you've done YouTube and you've done Instagram. And I'm like, you lack the follow through.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've always said back then in our history that I've always seen you like a roller coaster. You get the motivation, you get the drive, and you're at the peak. But then all of a sudden, the roller coaster comes back down, and you're just like, nah, I don't have the drive anymore. And you say that it's life that got in the way, but I don't think it's life. Because like I said, that's why I asked you the question. Is your life right now busier, the same, or less busier than it was before? And on YouTube, you didn't have no kids. Instagram, you had one child. And now you have 2 children. You have a teaching career. You're serving in ministry. You're doing all these things. Yet you're busting butt on TikTok.
Thank you.
So, yeah, when I remember when you told me, I was like, oh, here we go again. Like, but I tried. We were in a better place in our marriage, so I was like, okay, what is going to make this time different than the last? And what I've noticed with you for sure is when you hear a question like that, to you automatically it's like a challenge.
Yeah.
Like I'm asking like a sincere question, but you take it as a challenge. I just asked you what's going to be different. Like, what's your plan? Because, I'm just that type of person. Like you said, I see the history and I'm like, okay, here's your tendencies.
Yeah.
But B, also, okay, if you truly believe that this time is gonna be different, I want to be on board with you, but I want to know the plan. Because if there's no plan, I'm a big believer. If you have no plan, then you plan to fail.
Yeah.
And you told me like, no, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna post. You told me I'm gonna post 3 times a day. I think we even, I don't know if it was at the beginning or later on, but we made like a checklist of like, this is exactly what you're going to do. This is what it's going to look like. We kind of mapped it out a little
Yeah.
bit.
And I mean, yeah, because before I was, how you said, super inconsistent. I remember I made like a Pumping for Mamas Instagram. I'm going to do a pumping page and get all the support because that was big for me then once I had Elijah. I remember making another TikTok. And it's funny because Carrie showed me, she's like, wait, you have this profile. I'm like, no, I don't. I didn't even make it. And she showed me and I was like, I totally forgot I think I put it 2 videos. It was like Graceful Truths or something. I wanted to do like just my thoughts or say what I think is the truth, kind of in a boldish way. But I don't know. It was making a bunch. And yeah, I was not consistent at all. And I think me kind of even knowing my past and you bringing up that question, I'm like, okay, I already know myself. It's going to be dumb if I just kind of handle it the same way I did the other ones.
Exactly, huh?
Because nothing has been made out of it.
Yep.
So I think one thing that really helped me in the beginning was I gave myself a deadline. And again, before I was just posting just to post without no plan. It was truly out of feeling. Like if it's fun, if I want to post, I'm going to post. And then so when it didn't feel that way or when I got distracted with life or life got in the way, it wasn't in the forefront. It wasn't a priority. So I just completely forgot. And then I forgot all about it and it just died. And then this time around, I remember saying, okay, in 3 months, I give myself a deadline. I go hard in 3 months and then check back on it. So that way I had like something to look forward to and then data to see if there's any growth. And I remember telling God, like, I do not want to waste. And I think that also changed my prayer life and being very intentional of involving God in everything. So that's a huge factor. I can't ignore that. And I've been very clear in my prayers. And you've said, like, I'm like so surprised how God answers every single prayer. But just being mindful. So this time I had like data. Like before I was like, oh yeah, I'm going on YouTube. And I remember we were talking about it when I first did my YouTube run and you're like, wow, you're getting followers. And I'm like, yeah, it's growing. And I was so excited about it. But I couldn't tell you from like when to when I grew. Like there was no data. I had nothing solid. I'm sure I could have gotten that if I went back. But in my head, again, it was just fun and games. Let's see where this went. This time around, I said, okay, in 3 months, I'm going to evaluate. If there's growth, I'm going to take that as a sign to keep going because I didn't want to waste my time. And I was very clear to God, please show me if I'm wasting my time. Like if you think social media is not for me, just tell me because I keep trying and like, I'm not really trying, but I keep, diddle-daddling in this and I don't want to just waste my time. Like if it's not for me, it's okay. And in 3 months, I remember growing so much. And I was like, all right, God, I see you. And so I just kept putting more short-term goals. It's like once I hit 10K, 'cause that's when you can do like the creativity program.
Yeah.
And then I was like, once I hit this certain amount, once I get paid for TikTok. And then just putting those small goals and hitting those goals and actually like looking forward to something and then analyzing how I did made me just keep on going. Which now I don't think I can stop because I'm like, all right, it's growing.
Yeah. The one thing that I kind of heard and kind of relating to a conversation me and you had in regards to your school as well, I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand. You said, I went to school the first year and it was kind of just like whatever. You took a break after you got married. We had a kid. And then that's when your dad approached and was like, hey, I want you to finish school. And you went back and you said you had a different mentality. And it's almost like you weren't taking the time or the opportunity for granted.
Yeah.
And I think it's similar to your social media career because you tried YouTube, you tried Instagram, but you said you were kind of like nonchalant about it. Like you did it, it was fun, but if you got quote unquote too busy, then you would just be like, there's too much on my plate, and you could justify it that way.
Yeah.
But something changed this time around where you were like, no, I'm going to go all out. I'm going to try my hardest. And it was like you there's something that switched maybe in your mind, in your heart, where you were like, no, 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 I need to seize. I can't take the time and the opportunity that I have for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Because social media is definitely an opportunity. Like if you're willing to bust butt, I mean, you can make it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not for everybody, but somebody might think, hey, social media is like an easy thing. You just post or whatever. But the work ethic, you still gotta, and we could talk about that a little bit later, but
Mm-hmm.
the work ethic, you have to have the work ethic.
Yeah.
And anything great that you do, you have to have work ethic. And this time around, that's what I saw as a big change in your choice of pursuing TikTok is the work ethic was night and day between before and now. And just to like pause a little bit, you said what you did this different this time was you decided that you were gonna do it for reals.
Yeah.
You weren't gonna dilly dally. You're not gonna take it for granted. You were gonna, I'm going all out. I'm all in or I'm all out. I'm gonna try my hardest and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You put a 3-month goal or a 3-month mark where you were going to stop at that 3 months, look back and reflect and see, okay, am I going somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
Is this thing going to grow? And I think that's very important for a lot of people who are listening and saying like, I want to achieve something that is not that easy to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of things that are not easy to achieve. They may take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of time organization, a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, all these things. And it's not something that is from night and day. Like, again, we go back to the American culture, American society. Everybody wants everything so fast.
Mm.
But it's all about what we've talked about on this podcast over and over again, delayed gratification. You got to put in the work.
Yeah.
And the analogy from Atomic Habits, like you have a cube of ice. I don't know if we've said this on the podcast before, but there's an analogy on Atomic Habits that says you have a cube of ice and you want that cube of ice to melt. That cube of ice starts melting at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. But let's say that the room that ice cube is in is currently 25 degrees Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
That ice cube is not melting. You need to put in work to heat up that room. And maybe you get it to 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. You've done 5 degrees Fahrenheit worth of work, which might be a lot of work. And you're like, this thing is not melting.
Mm-hmm.
You put in 31 degrees, not melting. And some people start quitting at that point. Like, I'm putting in all this work. Like, what the heck? Like, is this ever going to happen? Maybe you start questioning like, oh, maybe this was never for me. Maybe I need to change my career. Maybe I need to change my purpose. Like, I don't know. Some people start like panicking or start feeling lost. And maybe you're just like, God, like, what is my purpose? What's my calling? Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I thought this was it, but I've put in a month of work and nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, listen to that, a month of work. When we go back to the analogy of the microscope and seeing the bigger picture, like through a microscope, a month might feel like a lot of work.
Yeah.
But if you look at the grand scheme of things, like a month is a speck of dust in the time that you're alive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you got to put in the work. And so you have to continue working at what you're doing. And that's what I saw in you this time, where you said 3 months. And we as people who want to achieve things, we have to put that small goals or small time frames. Let's get there and reflect back and see where we're at. Because again, you could get to 31 degrees, but it's not until you get to 32 degrees Fahrenheit where you see that little cube of ice start to melt.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fully melted, it's teeter-tottering at 32. You get it to 33, 34 higher, then you really start to see that thing melt. But you got to put in the work. And again, for you, you did at 3 months. Do you remember what you were at?
No, I think it was. I want to say it was maybe 1,000 because that's when I could put the link in my bio and people were buying off my registry. Remember, I told you like I want to get to 1,000.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think it was getting close to 1,000 or about 1,000.
And at 1,000, like imagine you 3 months in 1,000, you're like, okay, I'm not sure if at that point you had realized, okay, I need to get to 10,000 to be able to monetize my TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine you had 3 months, you got 1,000, and maybe you knew that 10,000 was like the place that you wanted to be able to monetize. And then you see the 1,000, you're like, I fell 9,000 short. Like, I'm just going to give up.
Yeah.
You know? But what did you think when you did that 3-month reflection?
Well, I remember thinking 1,000 was a lot. And I was like, oh, am I going to get there? Am I going to get there?
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking it was a lot. And then I just remember seeing what 1,000 kind of opened the door to. Like just the simple fact that I was able to put a link in the bio. I think for a lot of people it doesn't seem cool or okay, what's the big deal? But then people were buying things off my register, like people I didn't know, donating things. I was like, wow, like people out there care. Like this is a big deal. And so I just remember saying, if it just grows, if 1,000 can do this, like it was getting me excited. I can't even imagine what 5,000, what 10,000, what 15,000 would be. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm already seeing the impact of 1,000. And so I was just excited at that moment. I don't think I was deterred, like, oh, it's so many more ways to go. I think that really kept me pushing. Just, okay, if this happened at 1,000, imagine what can happen at 10,000.
And so when you started TikTok, did you know your brand already? Like, did you know what your focus was?
Not in the very beginning. So we say a year when it technically was in March that I posted. But the reason I don't count it in March and I count it in May is because in March I was just posting like willy-nilly, again, with no plan. Mm-hmm. It was like church outfit of the days. And then it was like my kids. And then it was teaching. And it not even being consistent with how many times a day I post, let alone the content. And then you told me, Grace, you know if you have to grow, you have to find a niche. And I hated it. Like I hated hearing that because I didn't want to be put in a box.
And by niche, you mean like a specific topic or a specific theme, brand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. And yeah, I didn't want to be put in the box because you see your favorite influencers, you see the favorite people you like to watch, and you can see them doing anything, like day in their life. Then they do a haul. Then they can do anything because they've made it. Mm-hmm. They have so many. That's their brand now. They themselves, their name, who they are is their brand.
Yeah.
But they had to get there somehow. Mm-hmm. And it's like you see in anybody's goal when they've already reached it, we make it seem like, oh, I just want to do that. And we have no idea what they did to lead up to that. Yeah, all the hard work, all of the redefining moments, whatever. And so when you told me you have to find a niche, yeah, I did not like that idea because I was like, well, I love being a mom. Mm-hmm. But then what if I want to talk about like a Christian topic like that I get passionate about, or like the government? Or what if I want to talk about my teaching? And like, what if I want to talk about this? And I was just, no, I can't just focus on one thing. And you're like, well, that's the only way you're going to grow. And I thought about it, I'm like, well, I never did that. I never stuck to a niche the prior times. So I'm like, what if he's right? And I'm like, I know he's right. Like, because no one's going to watch me because my day's interesting.
Yeah.
Like they have to get hooked somehow. Mm-hmm. And so people would watch if your day's interesting, but if you have the aesthetics, which you have to like have so much money just for that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, what can I do? And then I picked teaching, which even then I was like, oh, because I'm not just a teacher. What if I want to shift careers or whatever it might be? But I picked teaching and I stuck with it. That started in May. So it took me about like 2 months to really be like, I don't want to, kind of like. And yeah, once I stuck with the niche, that's when I started to see the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So you had to pick a focus. And again, going back to the audience, some of us want to do everything, just like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm this. I'm a mom. I'm a teacher. I'm passionate about government. I'm passionate about God. I'm passionate about all these things. But I am a believer of you need to focus on one thing to be able to be great at that one thing. If you try to be good at 10 things, you're only going to be as great as 10% for each of those things, because that's all the time that you can give it.
Yeah.
But it's not until you find that focus. And so I would encourage any listener out there, find your focus. Stop trying to do 10 things at once. Yeah, maybe you're capable of doing those 10 things at once, but become great at one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe when you're becoming great at that one thing at a time, you find the one thing that you're truly passionate about and that you're willing to just devote your life to.
Yeah.
Of just going all out. Like, I mean, I've always said, when you look at all the greats, the people that have become great in their field, you hear their stories and it's like they devoted their life to becoming great. Granted, they had to make sacrifices. Sometimes they're great sacrifices, sometimes they're not. There's a lot of prices to pay, but that they focus on one thing to be able to be great, they had to focus on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it's like you said, when you build up the brand, the platform, whatever you want to call it, then it's like, okay, now I have options.
Yeah.
Now I could go through different streams because now I have the influence, the reputation, I have the name. Like, you have so many options. And it's crazy how that happens. Like, when you get more influence, like more doors open.
Mm-hmm.
When you needed those doors open at the beginning, but nobody gives you those doors unless you work hard.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I hear this on Instagram over and over again, just because I think my Instagram is full of like just motivational stuff, but I hear it over and over of so many people see people's lives and they're like, oh, they're an overnight success. But it's like you said, nobody sees the work that you did to lead up to that point.
Yeah.
It seems like an overnight success because you just heard of them and you're like, who's this person? Oh my goodness, like they have so many followers or whatever. But the work that's done, the work that nobody sees, that's the work that counts.
Mm-hmm.
Because when people notice you, you've already started to melt that block of ice.
Mm-hmm.
Already started melting. But nobody saw the work that you did to even get it to that point.
Yeah.
And so now here's another question. Because somebody might listen and be like, social media, that's easy. I could do that in my sleep. My question to you is, what has it taken to become successful in TikTok? What does your day look like? How many videos do you post? How much time are you dedicating? How long does it take to edit? Does it even take time to edit? What does it take?
In the very beginning, it took a long time because you're just trying to figure it out, the editing process. And it'd be so annoying when you think you have it right, and then you post it and you're like, oh, it looked bad. And it's just a lot of figuring out what works, what doesn't work. So it takes a lot of time in the beginning. Now it depends on the video too. Like my usual videos, which is like my morning routines, like those are a staple. Those, if I'm at work, you're going to get one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can do it fast, like 10 minutes, the max. I can get that like 5 minutes. I was making spaghetti and boom, 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 post. So I've gotten those pretty to a T. But if I diverge and do a different type of video, like I tried doing one where it's just more trendier of making it look clean, all the movements. I don't know how to explain it. That one, it took me so long. I was like getting so frustrated. I'm like, this is taking me so long. But it's just, you have to learn it. So you put the time in the beginning and then you learn it. So each different style of video is going to be different.
Okay. That video that takes you now 10 minutes, how long did it take you at the beginning though?
Oh, it took me like 30 minutes or more.
So 30 minutes out of your day to make that one video.
To make that one video, yeah.
And that's before you even had like 1,000 followers, probably. Okay. And how many videos were you posting or are you posting?
So I try to be consistent with 3 videos Monday through Friday. And then on the weekend, sometimes I do 3 on a weekend. Sometimes I do 1. I don't force myself on the weekend because those are my rest days. But Monday through Friday, I try to do 3.
So you're saying that you post 3 times a day?
I try, yeah.
And so when you first started, let's say each video took you 30 minutes to edit. That's an hour and a half of your day that you're dedicating.
Give or take. I mean, some videos were just me talking. So I'd just have to rewatch it, make sure I didn't say anything dumb, and then find captions and tags and then just post it.
Okay. So at the beginning, would you say you spent an hour and a half or more time editing, choosing whatever video you were going to do? Like how much, I'm asking you, how much time were you dedicating a day?
I want to say an hour and a half.
An hour and a half. And where were you finding this hour and a half?
Oh, I try to find it before work if I was early, during my snack, my lunch, after school, putting the kids to bed.
So you've been sacrificing time.
Hmm.
Time that you could have been scrolling, time you could have been reading, watching something.
Yeah.
You've been sacrificing that time. And in the beginning, I guess I'm going to re-ask you, what was your motivation for that sacrifice? Like at the beginning, did you believe that you could get to where you are right now? Like what was it? Because because the reason I ask is like, I can't do something like that, especially like the sacrifice and all that stuff, if I actually don't believe that I'm going to make it, right? Or even if, okay, maybe I'm not too worried about making it, but that I'll enjoy it. Because 3 videos a day, hour and a half, finding places here and there, because again, you are a mother. So you're waking up, getting these kids ready, taking them to school, going to your job, having to lesson plan, then you were tutoring, doing supervisory work, trying to eat your lunch. Sometimes you were doing detention or something like that, right?
Yeah.
You have all these things, and then after work, you're trying to be intentional with being a mother, being a wife. Like at the beginning, what helped you stay motivated spending that hour and a half?
Well, I think it was 2 things, or maybe 3. One was I just have to dedicate 3 months. And if I don't see growth, then it would be just 3 months. And I can faithfully say I tried this time and completely put it behind me. But I knew if I didn't give myself that 3 months, I would have always wondered, what if? What if I gave it? Like, where would it have gone? Or why didn't I? Like, always those questions. So I just said, okay, God, it's in your hands. 3 months. I have to do my part and do it all in. And then I can successfully walk away with it, leaving it behind, not saying, oh, but I just wish, no, I tried it. Boom, didn't work in the past, and move on with my life. So I knew, okay, would it just be this amount of time?
So your thing was, let me give it my all. If it doesn't work out, I can walk away with my head held high, knowing that I tried my best.
Correct.
So then that means that in the past with YouTube and Instagram, you didn't feel that satisfaction of, I don't feel like I tried my best. I don't feel like I gave it my all. So you just wanted to like, no. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all out. If it works, it works. And it's like you said, I do my part. God will do the rest.
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes I still think like there is a little bit of momentum in both YouTube and Instagram. It's not like I was posting and no one cared. Like that wasn't the case. The case was not only was my close friends and family giving me positive feedback, but then other people that would just come across it. And I always think to myself, oh, what if I just stuck? Like, what if I grew? And then I hate that feeling. Like, if I stayed consistent from 2014, like it would have been crazy. And you see those people who did, and you're just like, oh my gosh, that's disgusting. Like, we wouldn't even, I mean, almost 50K is laughable. But so I'm like, I cannot think that anymore. Like, I just need to either just do it and see and not. And part of me thinks I wouldn't have been able to handle it. Like, now the hate is, I honestly have never lost a day of sleep over it. So I'm like, maybe I needed to mature. Maybe I needed to know what matters in my life. Maybe I needed to be confident in myself. God always knows why it works out. But I'm like, if God is like, I'm waiting on you, you haven't given in your all. Like, okay, this time around, that cannot be said. And so, yeah, that was one factor. The other was, I know it sounds cocky and I kind of like cringe saying it, but I liked my videos. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's people who just post videos because they want to get maybe the follower count or maybe get money and they don't even like what they're posting or something. But I enjoy making videos. I enjoy watching my videos. And I'm like, no, I know sometimes it's good quality. Like, I know someone will watch. And again, from YouTube and Instagram, like, I was getting that wave of people not knowing me and saying, hey, we like your stuff. And so part of me was like, no, I can be successful in this. Like, I know I got it in me. And again, I'm going to sound cocky, but people always said I speak well. I have this enthusiasm. I belong in front of a camera, like, since I was a little girl. So hearing that, I mean, it obviously blew up my ego, but I think that mixture is like, no, I can be one of those people who are doing it. So I never had the thing of, oh, no one's going to watch my videos. Like, it's like, no, I like my videos. And I knew it wasn't going to be for everyone. Like, I know you find it boring. You don't even watch them. But I'm like, there's people out there who are going to like this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I like watching it. Other people making the same type of content. And so it was part of me finding joy in those types of videos and me enjoying myself, then not replicating, but getting inspired and doing my take of it. That I'm like, I never thought no one's going to like my stuff. I was just afraid of what if I don't give it my all and I look back and regret and it could have been something and not knowing if I just kept trying.
Just to rewind a little bit, I think it's very important for a lot of people to hear this again. You said it could be that God is waiting for you to give it your all for him to open the doors.
Yeah.
And I feel like a good amount of people need to hear that. God is waiting for you to give it your all to really put his blessing on what you're trying to do. And it's basically to break free of that mentality of it's going to happen in a week. It's going to happen in a month.
Yeah.
It's a mentality of I'm going to persevere. I'm going to push through. I'm going to have a plan. I'm going to execute it. I'm going to have a date where I'm going to look back and reflect and look at the data. Data is very important, I think. I mean, you start working out and week 1, you're lifting 20 pounds. Week 2, 25.
Yeah.
Week 25, you're lifting 50. You write that all down. You look back, you're like, I've been growing every single week. I've been putting in the work and I see the growth. I think that's super important.
Yeah. I mean, there's a book in the Bible called Numbers, I think, for a reason. It's filled with data.
It's very important because it helps you see it on paper. Like, I see the growth. There's progress happening. Because many people, again, they want to go from 0 to 1 million like this. But if you just see in the time that you've been working, you've gone from 0 to 10,000. Just like, that's progress. Be proud of that. Reflect on that. Like, at one point I was at 0 and right now I'm at 10,000. And if you really are interested in numbers, we've talked about finances before, it's the same thing. As the numbers start growing, it starts to compound, meaning it's not moving at the same rate up. I always told you that.
Yeah.
I kept telling you, once you get the snowball rolling, it's going to compound. Because as you throw that little snowball down a hill, it starts growing and growing, and then it's not growing at the same pace. it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, faster. And that's how social media works.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I was never that data person. And so I never kept data, like ever. And even now, though, I see the importance of it because social media is such a like highs or lows. Like it's a season. It's just, I don't know, algorithms that go up and then go down, go up, trends go up and goes down. It's not consistent at all. But you have to be consistent through all of it. And so in the beginning, it was very hard to like keep pushing when I felt like I was working so much and my views were so low. And I remember you would tell me, it's okay. Like, it's going to go back up. Just keep pushing through. And then now I got it easily, but it's because of the data. Now I look back and I'm like, okay, this month it was this amount. This month it's this month. And you see the data. I'm like, all right, it's just, when it's low, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a month where it just goes up.
Yeah.
It's coming. I just have to keep going because you don't know what's going to hit. You don't know. And I always tell myself, like, what if I wasn't feeling like posting this video? And that could have been the video that made it big. And so it's so important to have data because when you have those low seasons, you look back and said, this is what God did. This is what happened before, and it can happen again.
Right.
But if you have nothing but your feelings to go through, you forget. I forget. I'm like, oh, I never remember feeling like that. I never remember. And that's why it's so important to document it because you easily forget the good and the bad. Until you have like proof, you can kind of talk yourself up. Okay, it'll happen again.
And the listeners might be thinking, okay, she's got 46.3 thousand followers, big whoop. Like, what does that mean to us? So let's talk about a topic that people might be interested in, the money part. Because that's
what we're in it for.
Well, that was my question. Like, is that part of the reason why you wanted to do social media is because of the financial opportunity?
Oh, yeah, for sure. First I was like, okay, these people are doing this and that's their job. I thought that, because I started, mind you, when I was making videos and not posting it anywhere, it was like just fun for me. And then when you realize people are doing this and that's all, like they can make a living out of it and a good living more than someone with a degree can, I'm like, oh, for sure. Like, I want a piece of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember when we talked to our, it was around the same time when we talked to our, the lady, what is she? A financial advisor, coach? And I told you, oh, you're like, what kind of side hustles do you want to bring? Do you remember? And I was like, oh, I didn't want to do, because you guys, before the side hustles, like when we were saving, I was like busting my butt, like selling everything I could. I was tutoring and I just didn't want to tutor on my free time. I was like, I'm already a teacher. Like dealing with kids outside of the school is no. And then you were telling me, do you have anything to sell? And I kind of maxed out everything. And you kept asking me these questions. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I was like, calm down. TikTok is going to come through. And you were like, what? Do you remember? And I was like, don't worry, my side gigs are going to come through. And I don't know if it was the faith that I had or just like, God, please, I don't want to do like what I used to do in the past to make money. But it happened that summer. My first time I got paid was in July. And I was like, David, TikTok paid me. And it was awesome. I always wanted that to happen. But did I like think it was going to happen? No, because I feel like that my consistency, how we said, it was never there. And so for that was also another push of keep going. If you can do it right now, like imagine what it could be in the future. And that was awesome. And that's when I kind of took it serious because we have a savings plan. We have a goal. And I was like, if I can contribute in anything in this way, that's kind of like what keeps me pushing too. Like, how much can I contribute to the house? How much can I contribute? So it's definitely my driving factor now.
And so let's say May, you started taking things seriously. You buckled down, posting 3 videos a day. You finally found your brand. It was teaching. 3 videos a day. Let's say an hour and a half you were dedicating each and every day. You were finding the time because a quick pause there. A lot of people say, I don't got the time.
Mm-hmm.
No. That you got the time, you got the time.
Yeah.
That you don't want to make the sacrifices is a whole other thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just put a pin in that and think about that. So you did all these things. May, do you remember what you made from social media in the year of 2023?
Oh, the whole year combined?
From May to December 31st.
No, I don't. Do you?
I have a rough estimate.
Estimate?
I don't remember from the top of my head, but I believe that it's a testimony because, again, I was like, I don't know if this girl's going to be consistent. I don't know if this girl's going to be able to do this. But in July, you said you got paid from TikTok, which means that from May to July, you hit 10,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
And so July, you get paid. I remember it was like maybe $100, $200.
So TikTok paid me $126.
Okay.
But Amazon paid me $92. That's the highest Amazon's been.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. And then a company reached out because they saw me through TikTok. And I'm not making TikTok videos, but I'm making educational videos for their platform.
Mm-hmm.
And so altogether, that was about $400. Altogether, I made $618 my first month, which for me was like...
That was huge.
It was huge.
And that's when we were like, this could be legit.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like, I think we had a different conversation at that point because you were like, oh, I'm going to do it. All these people are going to reach out to me. They're going to give me free stuff. And TikTok's going to pay me all this money and blah, 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 blah. And you were trying to figure out how much they were paying you for views on TikTok. And then we started mapping out like, okay, because then you started like, oh, David, like, what if this compounds? What if this gets crazy? Like, at what point can I quit my job? Like, when can I do this? Like, I'm going to go full time. And we mapped it out. Like, this is what it's got to look like for you to finally do this full time. But do you have all the numbers there or no?
I have August. Do you want me to say August?
No, we could just do a general. If from the top of my head, I think it was from May to December, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was somewhere around $14,000 that you made from social media. So that's a combination of your views, commissions from you selling things from the TikTok shop.
Correct.
That's from different vendors sending you things and you making videos on it. That's from that tutoring platform as well. Mm-hmm. So there's all these opportunities that you got from social media. And I mean, from us two that we weren't sure, well, at least I wasn't sure of what this could be, to make $14,000 like extra on the side of you doing these videos. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. And we're praying and hoping that 2024 is going to be even bigger.
That TikTok doesn't get banned.
And that TikTok doesn't get banned. But it's huge. Yeah. And it's a testimony. And there was 1 month actually that you got paid $10K plus in 1 month.
That was wild.
In 1 month. I remember you made that video. It was of some sort of makeup brand. And you were like, babe, I just made $200 in one day. And the next day you're like, I made $500. Babe, I made $1,000. It was like every day it was just piling up. And I honestly saw it as this big pile of money. And I'm like, what is happening?
And I was paranoid because I was like, is it all going to get to me? Mm-hmm. Like, am I looking at the right number? And I was worried. I was looking at like somehow I was looking at the wrong number and it was going to be, no, you got mistaken. It's this number or something like that. So I was like, pinch me. This feels too good to be true until I was able to take a deep breath when it like got in my like hands. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Because just seeing it, you have to wait, obviously some time. And that was a pinch me moment. 100%.
And I'm going to put two things together because we talked about the ice. And we've talked about on this podcast of the man digging for the diamonds. There's two men digging for diamonds. One gets an inch close and then gives up and walks away. And you said earlier in this podcast, I would post videos and I tried to stay consistent because I didn't know that if I didn't post that one, that could have been the one that hit.
Yeah.
And now reflecting on it, it's very how do I say it? Like I guess I'm awestruck, is that the word? That you were that person in that picture digging for the diamond, and you were not the person that turned around and gave up. That you kept going and you freaking hit the mother lode on that 1 month.
Yeah.
And reflecting on it, like it really astounds me. Grateful for it, grateful to God, obviously, but like also grateful to you that you had that mentality of just this could be the one. The next one could be the one. The next one could be the one. And you just, again, I always go back. My analogy will always be the mountain. You just
Yeah.
kept taking that next step. And it's like, it's just one step. It's just one step. It's just one step. I'll get there. I'll get there. And like, I always have, I guess, a soft heart in regards to like somebody who like puts in all their effort to be able to achieve something. And then when you finally hit it, it's just like, it was worth it. It was worth it. And I mean, you see it, right? Like I guess I hadn't really reflected on it as much as I'm reflecting on it right now, but I'm very grateful to you, for doing that. And I know that you did it for yourself. You did it for your family. Like the reasons were great. The work ethic was there and it paid off. And it is a testimony to others that are listening now of keep chipping away. You're going to hit it. If you keep the work ethic up, if you keep the faith up, if you keep believing, if you keep working, if you keep taking that one step, you're going to hit it. And when you hit it, you're going to be so grateful that you took all those steps. It could have been a million steps, but the moment that you hit it, all those million steps were for that reason right there.
Yeah.
And it's so affirming of every ounce of work that you put in. And it's so affirming from God as well, as like, I see all the hard work that you've put in. I see the effort. I see the planning. I see the wisdom that I've given you that you implemented on this. Like you did it all.
Thank you for that. It means a lot to me. And I think, well, thank you because you've always been kind of motivating me, challenging me, growing me. Even in times when I didn't want to hear it, I knew he's right. He's right. And I'm so grateful for the process because we've talked about this before, but it truly does something to your identity if you just don't give up. And I think I believed in myself as, oh no, I start off good. I'm good at this. But then how you said, oh, my battery dies and I just walk away. Like I thought that was me. And when I proved myself wrong, I think that's what I needed to do. I needed to prove myself wrong. That was so powerful. And now, like, let's say TikTok gets banned. I'm not even worried because I'm like, I could take what I built in myself, my work ethic, my drive, whatever, and then just replicate it in any, whatever I choose. And not only that, I see myself now where I hated being a person of routine. I hated being let alone a morning person. And now I see that trickle in other areas in my prayer life, in my workout life. But I mean, it's not crazy. I'm not super fit, you guys. But just being consistent for me was hard. And that kind of like switched my mind is like, I'm a consistent person. And it did something where it started off as just TikTok. And it did something like, no, anything I set my mind to, I can do it now. And so I'm excited just to see whatever I set my mind to, knowing, okay, this is just who I am. I'm someone who, when I say I'm going to stick to something, I do it. And that's been pretty like crazy to see that I just needed to believe in myself and like break through that barrier.
That's great. Couple more questions. What is your short-term goal for TikTok, and what is your long-term long-term goal?
My short-term goal is to add as much as I can to our family savings because I really want to get out of my school loan debt. And so my goal will always be to have fun. So we've said it in our finance podcast that I keep 25% of everything that I make.
Mm-hmm.
So the more I work, the more 25% I keep. And that's always been nice. Like, just, you guys, it's crazy now. Like, today I wanted to buy my kids' teachers a gift. And before I would have touched into the home savings or been like, no, we can't. But the fact that I'm like, I can put this money aside and just do that, or I can get coffee, or I can go shopping for myself, or I can get my nails done. Like, it feels so nice. Like, I've never had that feeling.
Yeah.
And it feels so nice to know, oh my gosh, is a paycheck coming, you know? It feels so nice. And so that has always been my short-term goal, like my selfish goal. But with the family, I really want to help. Like, I get excited and I tell you, do you think I'm going to contribute a lot this month to our savings?
Yeah.
It makes me feel good knowing that I'm contributing to getting out of debt completely. I mean, it's my debt, but you know. So that's my short-term goal right now. My long-term goal would be to replace my teacher income and then some. Like, I want to be in a situation. I don't think I'll ever not have a job. I don't want to say it'll always be teaching, but I don't think I'll ever not have a job.
Mm-hmm.
I like the routine of it. I feel like I need routine. I need stability in that area. But to be able to like store a lot of money, like how I see these influencers capable of, and replace their income, I feel like that can just do so much for our kids' college funds, not even be worrying about that.
Yeah.
Where they don't have to go through what we're going through now. And okay, we have debt. How do we get out of this debt? Buying a home, like furnishing the home. That was kind of a small goal we did. Getting a car, cash, and not one like we have. But my biggest thing, and I hope that people who like family and those closest around me know, it's always to not think about being generous. And that's something that I know, and again, I'm going to sound, I don't know, I honestly don't care at this point, but I'm going to tell on myself. Oh, I'm getting uncomfortable. Since I was little, I've been quote unquote like someone who's vain, right? Like been super girly, into her looks, just like a girly girl, I guess you can say. With age and maturity, that obviously I'm like, okay, that doesn't matter. Like, that doesn't matter. But I know I've always wanted nice stuff, and I've always liked the bougie life and like the comfort. But I've always asked God, like, please do not make me lose focus of why, or make it money change me, where I don't care about people, where I'm just like money hungry and just me. Like, I've always said, God, like, I would never want to be stingy, like always helping those in need, like be a blessing, glorify you, making sure everyone knows where it came from. And sometimes I get worried, like, David, do you think and you're like, no, look, like you like remind me. And so my mom was such a generous person, and she inspires me. And so now sometimes you're like, okay, Grace, you are generous to the point where like you think you're like rolling in money. I'm like, oh, I just wish I can do this for people and get that for people. And so I try to do that as much as I can in this scale, but doing that in a larger scale, that would be crazy awesome.
Yeah.
And so I can't wait for when I genuinely don't even have to check the bank account. It's like, no, I'm going to bless someone in this way and we're clear to go, when it'll be awesome. So.
And how long do you think that long-term goal will take you?
Well, if you asked me before I knew the TikTok ban, I'd be like, oh, maybe like 2 to 3 years. Now, I hope the same 5 years. I'm just going to be consistent. And that's why because I'm someone who gets very discouraged when I'm like, oh, I can't reach it. And that's why I just focus on, okay, right now, hopefully by the time this episode is up, but I wanted by May, I said in 1 year I want to get 50K. And so it's May, the time we're filming this, May 8th. So I think it's doable. And then next goal would be like, hey, 100K. I have to make that shorter than a year now. Like, let's see. And so I'm not like, desesperada, like, oh, I've never seen it grow. But it's crazy just seeing how much money I made. When I hit the $10,000, I wasn't at 40,000. I think I was at 20K.
Yeah, somewhere between 20 and 25, I think.
And so that's wild to me. Like, you don't need this crazy amount of following. You just need, like, you don't know what's going to make it, to be honest. I can tell you my strategy for that video. I didn't have a strategy. Like, I can tell you all of this, but I think it's mixed with consistency, your work ethic, which is the same, but your faith, and just, do you believe in yourself? Because there's no perfect recipe for success.
Okay, so I have a question and then a follow-up question. I want you to answer the question first. Since the month of $10,000, have you done that again?
I haven't done the 10,000, no.
I guess I have two follow-up questions. Have you come close to $10,000 again?
Mm-mm.
Okay, now here's my real follow-up question. How do you deal with the inconsistency? If finances is part of your goal and you see, oh my gosh, I hit 10,000. Because from a personal standpoint, I knew that you kind of, when you hit that 10K, I was like, oh no, this is awesome. But at the same time, I know that there's a part of you that like, that's kind of like the standard now.
Mm-hmm.
For you, it's almost like every time you raise the bar, that's the new standard. That's the new standard. You keep raising it. And so I'm like, I know social media to not be consistent like that. So it's not like every month you're going to make $10,000. And so the following month, I think you made 1,000, maybe 2,000, maybe not even. I don't remember. But you haven't made anywhere near $10,000 again in 1 month. And so my question is, how do you personally deal emotionally with the inconsistencies, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of social media?
Well, first, before I answer, I want to ask you a question. Do you think I've dealt with it well? Like, where I can truly answer this question? Like, are you surprised?
Honestly, I think you've dealt with it mostly really well, surprisingly well. I honestly was like, oh no, this is bad. Because I was like scared like the next month that if you didn't get anywhere near 10,000, you were going to like lose hope, faith. You were going to lose your work ethic. And there was, I don't know, like a week or two where, I don't know if you remember, I was like, hey, I don't see you busting butt like you used to.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what you said, but you jumped back on it. So that's what my question is, because if you guys haven't noticed, this is more than just about TikTok, but this is about people who are trying to achieve things that are not easy. And when you're trying to achieve things that are great, there's going to be ups and downs. It's not always going to be a smooth ride, like a nice rocket all the way to the top. Like, there's ups and downs. There's factors that come in. They could slow you down. They could stop you. They could injure you, whatever. Like, there's a lot of things that come into play. So back to my question, how do you deal with the inconsistencies? How do you deal with the ups and downs?
To be honest, I don't have this crazy answer. My answer is pretty simple, and I'd say it is gratitude. Like, I remind myself I would have only been able to dream to make $1,000, $2,000 with TikTok.
Nice.
I told you in the beginning, if I could make this part-time, and we kept saying part-time is like 2,000. And I've been around the 1,000, 2,000. I think this a month is going to be maybe making my paycheck, like my take-home pay, which I'm reminding myself, like, that's crazy. Like, people would want that. And just knowing, like, not everyone gets this opportunity. If I tell people that, if you tell the TikTok influencers, of course they're going to say, oh, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Like I make 100K, or if I'm making as a tiny baby little micro influencer 10K and I'm like wild about it, I can just imagine the millions they're bringing in. But I remind myself, like, to the everyday person, like, this is a dream come true. This is my dream come true.
Yeah.
Just making part-time money with social media was crazy to me. So the fact that I'm making like $1,000 or sometimes bringing in my take-home pay, and next month it could be more or it could be less, but it could be more. I think it all stems down from like gratitude, like not forgetting why I wanted to do this and that I get to do this.
So like also adding on to that, the thing that I hear is gratitude of where you're at right now, but also not comparing yourself of, I guess, where you want to be or of other influencers. Because you said other influencers are making millions of dollars, and imagine you compared yourself to them.
Yeah.
Then you'd feel tiny.
Yeah.
But you're like, no, I'm grateful for where I'm at right now. Like I'm just worried about me, where God has me right now. Like I'm not comparing myself. I'm not wishing that I was making those millions right now. I know it's going to take a process, and I'm grateful for that process, grateful for where I am. And again, it's basically what you did from 0 to 3 months. You got to that 3 months and you looked back and you were like, there's growth. I'm not where I was at day 0, 100%. And so same thing, like I can understand that and that's a key, I think, to success is not comparing yourself and also just being grateful for where you are, looking back and being like, I've grown. And I mean, in a year for you to get almost $50,000 or 50,000,
But I believe it for
followers,
next year.
50,000 followers. Like I remember when you got to 20, you were like, my goal is 50, but I don't know. And you
Yeah, it
kept
was a
saying,
big goal.
I don't know. And it hasn't been until the last week or two that where you're like, oh, I actually think it's going to happen. I remember like 2 or 3 weeks ago, you were like, David, how many followers a day do I need to make to get to 50,000 by the end of May? And I told you like a number like,
It's close to 300, like 280 something.
like 300 followers. And you're like, oh, I usually only average like 100 or 200. I don't know. And I was like, babe, don't worry. You keep consistent. One of the videos are going to hit. Then you're going to get so many more followers, and then the average will come down. And you've been consistent. God's been doing his thing, and you are very, very close. I think your average is down to like 100 and something followers a day. And so you're about to reach your goal that you wanted to reach.
Yeah.
And yeah, for you to keep yourself afloat. No, and then I also want to point out the mental preparation, I think. I'm a huge believer if you're mentally prepared for what's to come, you're, I think, more mentally stable to be able to handle what's to come, right? And I think when you started social media, I mean, I think you knew like social media, there's ups and downs.
Yeah.
And I think you were looking into influencers as well. And they all say the same thing. Like there's months where I make X amount, like so much money. And then the following month I make pennies. Like, and so you were mentally prepared. And I think that's the other thing is like, okay, I think you were like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I just need to be grateful. And that's obviously worked because you're still going hard.
And I just think I do not want to take it for granted. Like I know I don't want to be every influencer like out of touch with reality. But in a time like God has been so good to us, even before social media, in the time where COVID hit and where people were losing their jobs and everything was going, inflation's getting higher. Like God has always been so faithful. And if anything, we're just getting better. And so I do not want to always be like, oh my gosh, I'm just making this amount where everything is extra. Like that's how I see it. Like everything we're making, that this is not my job. Like I have a good job. Everything is extra. Like I'm just like, God, that is crazy. And so I never want to complain because I know how blessed that is in this economy where people are fearful, where people are losing their jobs, where so I don't ever, I'm just grateful. And I truly believe. And that's another thing. Do you remember God gave us that prophecy of like prosperity, which is maybe we could touch on another story. I don't know if we have time for this one, but just knowing like, God, you said it. Is it going to be through TikTok? That was kind of like my mentality too. Like, you tell me, God, if it's going to be through TikTok or how, because we need something. Like, how are we going to get there?
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, this is me doing my part. Like, I truly believe in faith, and God, if you said it, you'll do it. But faith without action is dead. And so, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I still am like, sometimes I get like imposter syndrome. Like, we're sitting here talking about when it's only like not even 50K. Again, where there's people who doesn't even compare, but I'm like, it's crazy. I never thought I'd be here. And the reason I get so passionate about about it, and on my TikTok, I do like salary transparency and how much TikTok paid me for the week or the month, is because if it is your dream, I never want you to think it's not reachable. Like I did it. And I remember people were making fun of me because, Grace, you're known for like your smudgy camera and your video quality is so bad. And I'm filming just on a regular phone. Like, I'm not doing anything special. I'm really not. I feel like I'm doing like basic things. It's just consistency. It's like, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Whether that's social media or anything else, reading a book, working out, whatever it is.
Okay. And to end off the episode, any advice, any words of encouragement that you would give anybody that's listening that wants to achieve something great, something that is clearly going to require a lot of work?
Yeah, your why has to be bigger. And you touched on it. If you really want it and your purpose is so important to you, time is not going to be a factor. And how you said it. I went to school freshman year, straight out of high school, to Biola to get my bachelor's. And I remember averaging, like, I would get C's, some D's, some A's, like, but I was just cruising. And I had all the time in the world, you guys. I lived on campus. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. Like, I should have been getting nothing but A's and like a 4.0 GPA. Coming back, my why was so much bigger. I'm like, I cannot mess up. Like, not only now is it our money, but I have a little kid at home. Like, I need to land a job after this. Like, I need to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, I need it. And I remember, like, my kid would be napping in the car. I wouldn't take him out. I'd read. My phones all were my books were all on my phone. I'd be in line, anywhere, reading, doing textbook. My kid would be sleeping on me. I'm reading, doing homework on my phone. I'd be typing essays on my phone. And you can get so many excuses. I have a little kid. I have this, I have that. And it's like, you will always find a reason to not do it. You'll always find a reason to give up. There's always going to be a valid excuse. It's your why you're going to ignore all of that and keep pushing forward that matters. And it's truly like hiking. Like, know before you hike, it is going to be a long trail ahead. But the only thing I think about when I hike is not, oh my gosh, how long is it? Is it an hour left? Is it 5 miles left? Because that easily discourages me thinking about how far I have left to go. I just thinking about, Grace, just keep walking. Just keep walking. Like, oh, I can walk right now. I haven't fallen. I'm not like in so much pain that I physically need to sit down. Like, it hurts. But look, I can still walk. I'm just focusing about my steps. And then before you know it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it. But I'm just focused on the now, the present, not looking to see who left me a long time ago, who's behind me, looking at the people coming down and seeing, oh my gosh, they already got there. And I have so much way to go. Like, just focused on myself and my step by step.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I want to thank you for opening up about your TikTok life, your TikTok journey.
Thank you for asking.
I think it's a great testimony for many people. I think it'll be encouraging. And again, for you guys, we hope that this podcast has been encouraging to you. We hope that it helps motivate you to go out there and achieve what you really want to achieve. Mentally know that it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of effort, but that it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. And we thank you guys for taking the time to listen to this episode. And if you have any questions more for Grace in regards to her TikTok journey, feel free to ask. She's an open book. I hope you guys know that by now.
Yes.
She will answer any single question. I don't think there's anything off boundaries. But thank you very much for listening. Very humbling that you guys take the time, and we love you guys very much. Thank you. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yes. Bye.